G.
Can you hear me, bro?
Yes, what's good, bro?
How's the audio?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. I'm on my Mac.
Is it just you, by the way?
No, my buddy Armin should be joining.
Okay. Well, I'm already recording, but let me know when you want me to start.
Okay. He should
Yeah?
be hopping on any minute. Dude, I like that video of you hitting the mitts.
Yeah, thank you, bro. I've been practicing, taking boxing classes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you have access to some pretty good boxing coaches down there.
Yes. Yeah, this guy's a fucking G. Everyone knows him. He's been boxing for like 20 years. He's funny as fuck. He's very cool. Great coach.
Do you follow the UFC?
Not really, but I love it. I love that sport. There's you, bro.
Yo,
Yeah,
Armin, what's good? Welcome.
how we doing?
How are you?
Not too bad.
Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you, bro. I had a call with Joe the other day.
Yeah, I know you had I've seen you on Twitter and I've also I know you tried our protein before, so
Yes. Yeah, I love your protein. My
appreciate it,
dad
bro.
loves your protein. Yeah.
Actually,
I can't really do the like the goat taste, the goat cheese taste. But my dad loves that so much.
dude, hell yeah.
Yeah. You don't have a personal Twitter as well?
Yeah, I have a personal.
Yeah.
It's
Do I follow you?
I don't know if I'll follow you on it now.
Let me see. We're recording, by the way, so welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having us too, bro.
Of course, bro. I've been wanting to have you guys for a little bit. I just have never actually sent you guys a message or anything until I got with Joe on a call the other day.
Yeah.
It's a great just opportunity to invite you guys on the show. Good combo, good content, just to also give you guys a platform to speak. I really believe PRAVI is extremely underrated. There's not enough attention on you guys, which of course will change. Work is work.
Yeah, and it's it takes us too. I'm sure Joe's talked about this, but we do everything like in house, just us two.
Yeah.
Like we literally try not to pay people if we don't have to. So
yeah.
But
By the way, if you guys see me typing on the computer, I'm just taking notes because I don't have my notebook. I have all ears and all attention on you guys.
cool.
Well, welcome,
So,
guys.
thanks, brother. Thanks for having us.
So, thank you. So I've only done like a 2-person podcast once, which was with Go Guild. So just a little bit about you guys, maybe one by one. How did you guys meet? What's a little bit of your story for folks who have no idea who you guys are? Who are you?
Yeah, so Armin and I are both based in Vermont, and we were born and raised here. Had kind of known of each other a little bit in high school just from playing sports and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we met at college at UVM, kind of became closer friends. And then I think like most people in the Twitter space that we're in, we kind of see some of these brands, see what people are doing, kind of get
Yeah.
inspired. And then we knew we wanted to do something. We're both really interested in health and wellness. I think the main inspiration for me early on was seeing some of the stuff Solbra was doing and some of the stuff he was preaching. So we're just kind of involved kind of in this space, loved working out, lifting, health, all that. And then Armin had the idea to start this business, focusing
Mm-hmm.
at least initially on goat whey. And we started that, I think, probably 3 years ago, roughly. The idea was started,
Oh
and
wow.
we
Okay.
just, yeah, kind of went from there and just have been figuring some stuff out, making a bunch of mistakes, and yeah, that's kind of how the journey started.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah, that's spot on. Like, my parents,
Oh,
we
shit.
immigrated.
Sorry, that ad's fire, bro. I didn't see that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we actually just dropped this, so we have like some merch out too. We have hats, shirts, hoodies.
Love
Um,
it.
But so my parents and I immigrated here in 2000. So I'm Bosnian. The former Yugoslavia had a civil war, and a lot of us had to go to different places. And so they were just entrepreneurs. They
Okay.
they did truck driving, and so I always had like this kind of known interest in like entrepreneurship and kind of getting after it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so and like Joe had said, spending time on Twitter, seeing all these other brands popping up, and I've always wanted to do a brand. I've had failed businesses in the past as just like a younger kid, and so when I'd come up with this idea, which actually stemmed from having poor gut health issues. So like I was 24. This was about 4 years ago, and I would just wake up with like trouble breathing. I'd have rash on all over my skin. And I thought I was healthy, ignorant, obviously, because I played sports or whatever. But
Sure.
until I went to a natural and a holistic practice, she helped identify that I had like a candida overgrowth. And
Wow.
so that was a path of like figuring out health myself, experimenting, and then reporting back to her. And then, as I was adjusting my diet back to something I, more enjoyed rather than just like cutting out everything, I wanted dairy, and I'd asked her, can I get back on dairy with this? And she had said, goat dairy is actually antifungal, has prebiotics. And so that was my first introduction to goat dairy through her. And,
Wow.
and then I thought like, hey, why isn't there, like more of a interest of like a protein that actually doesn't make you feel like shit? Like I've tried so many proteins. They're like
Yeah.
instant, like bloating, instant gas.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was my shift to eating healthy and trying, I take a bunch of supplements, herbs, etc. And then the last bit of this story is I was thinking in my head, I was like, who is the healthiest motherfucker I know? And it was this guy. Like this guy's a beast. So I was
Really?
like, I would love to like collaborate with like the personal story I had, in the struggle, and join our like not only our friendship but our vested interest in like this space as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of like out the blue but perfect,
Yeah.
like it
Yeah,
was
it's
a good
beautiful.
match for
That's a
sure.
beautiful collaboration. So why did you approach a natural doctor in the first place?
Well, so I'd had the same, how it is, like you get a doctor, pediatrician, you have no say, you're a child, it makes sense. And my parents also, they were hardworking but new to the country, so they kind of just had things go as they go. And I just I was going to this doctor, and like I was getting sick a lot, and it had nothing to do with like how do you reach a root cause or root issue.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that's obviously talked about a bunch ad
Yeah.
nauseum at this point in the space, but
Yeah.
it is that cliche. Like it was just either take these
100%.
drugs or over the counters, or do this, do that. And I, a family friend of mine, his whole family had gone to this practitioner, and I was like, I'm gonna give her a try, just see where it goes. And I mean, it's been life changing, literally, like for myself physically, and then just like the idea coming from that discussion, So, but
Yeah, that's beautiful. And Joe, how did you get into like health and wellness? How did you ever find Sobra in the first place?
Yeah, I actually have thought about that before, and like I've scrolled back on my Twitter followers,
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm like, who was like my introduction to this niche corner of Twitter? And I think it was Ajax. Do you know who that is?
Really? Yeah, of course. I'm blocked by him for some reason, but
Oh,
yes.
really? That's funny, but I think I started following him and like Ed Lattimore, who's another kind of like OG of the space.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think the algorithm kind of just did its thing. And then I started getting actually, Colty Bra was another one.
Yeah.
And Colty Bra, actually, it's funny calling him by like his Twitter handle, but Colty Bra, he had actually shouted out Soul Bra when he was just getting started, which is interesting. So I
Mm.
saw a tweet from him kind of shouting him out. And then I started following Soul Bra when he had a few thousand followers.
Wow.
And that kind of got me familiar with kind of some of the stuff, not that he invented, but that he kind of like popularized, which a lot of that information we now kind of take for granted. But
Yeah.
he kind of exposed that, not to the mainstream, but to most people, I would say. So that was kind of my introduction to this side of Twitter. But yeah,
So,
the Kill Crew guys were a big inspiration. Soul Bra,
right.
Man too. Like Armin and I both, we'd share some of these tweets, and this is before they kind of had blown up. Like I've DM'd with Van Man a few times. He's been really helpful, offering
Mhm.
just like basic advice and just whatever random stuff.
That's
And
beautiful.
just seeing what's up.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and just seeing these guys blow up right in front of our eyes and share some of the things that they're preaching. It was just like, all right, let's try to take a shot at this ourselves and kind of use this information, take advantage of it.
So I'm just guessing here, but did you get introduced to Ajax because you were a gym bro or something?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think like the natural progression was kind of like the Joe Rogan, David Goggins kind of like hardo archetype.
So
And
you
then
weren't
that,
okay. You weren't into that.
yeah, kind of like, well, I grew up playing sports like most people do. And then I started hitting the weights really
Right.
heavy, kind of in college, kind of doing more like bodybuilding stuff. And that's kind of
Yeah, you
what
look like a gym bro.
started, I guess. Yeah, I got to I've been off the grind a little bit the past couple of years, but I'm about to get dialed in. And I know we mentioned earlier you're hitting the mitts. I also
Yes.
I've inconsistently trained martial arts over the last few years, but that's another thing I want to start getting back into. But yeah, overall, like working out, health and fitness, it's definitely a
Fucking
staple in both.
leverage this conversation to get started again.
Yeah.
No? So let's talk about PRAVI nutrition. How did this get this start? Like how did you guys turn an idea into an actual product or project?
Yeah. So, the idea came from us having a discussion and me sharing, like my interest in goat dairy specifically. But like the actual process of getting goat whey is, I don't know if people understand like how difficult that actually is. Like there's maybe 3 suppliers in the entire United States. And so that as a product to source is extremely difficult.
How
And
so?
just the bottleneck on the whole process. So goats make way less milk than a cow can, for example. Also, goats are not like industrial, like they're not mass producing. These farms with goats. Most goat farms or anywhere you get goat milk from, goat cheese, etc., are actually just like family farms. Um, that's huge in Vermont. We actually have like an award-winning goat cheese company here, but all of this stems from actual smaller sourced farming, and that in turn can be hard to like ask for a lot of quantities of this stuff, and the fact that the goats only produce x like a low amount of milk per day as well. So
Yeah, for a lot of the goat dairy operations, to our knowledge, it's not really economical or feasible to then convert the liquid whey, which is in most cases a byproduct of cheese, into actual whey protein powder because it requires some pretty heavy investments in like infrastructure. So it's just hard to come by in that sense. And then, like Armin was saying, compared to bovine, which is very commercialized and factory farmed, there's just like an abundance of bovine whey protein and cheese, milk, all those things. So it's just a more developed kind of economy versus goat whey, which has traditionally been more small scale.
And yours is raw, so I imagine that's a little bit even harder.
So one of our earliest products was raw in the sense that it wasn't combined with any sort of emulsifier. It was just straight goat whey protein. But we've since, after like experimenting and receiving some feedback, included an emulsifier. So now we no longer label it as raw, but we do have a couple of customers that prefer non-instantized, in which case we do still supply them with that.
That'd be the unflavored one, no?
No, it's not something that we market. It's not on our website. The unflavored is still has an emulsifier, which is sunflower lecithin, which is a lot more beneficial to soy lecithin. If you're ever looking at, if you're looking to see the quality of a protein powder, that's definitely one thing to look at. Like if it says soy lecithin versus sunflower lecithin, you can kind of get a good read that it's probably not a high quality product and they're just trying to cut corners and costs.
So why is goat better than cow, nutritionally speaking?
I think the main value proposition with goat whey is the digestibility. There's a lot of interesting studies. You can look at kind of the PubMed. There's actually this one guy that like made it his life's work to study goat whey, but anecdotally too, a lot of people who have a hard time digesting cow whey for whatever reason, whether it's the homogenization process or the type of casein protein, like I know a lot of people who have a hard time with cow dairy will exclusively drink A2 dairy, and goat milk is naturally exclusively A2 and also naturally homogenized. So it just has a lot of characteristics that lend it easier to digest.
Yeah, and I was gonna just add in certain so like certain minerals and certain amino acids are higher prevalence in goat dairy, but it's primarily just like how much of an impact and how easy it is to digest. It even like the fat globules itself actually like form in your gut differently than cow dairy. So even that is like it to even to a genetic point. Actually, I'd seen one tweet that he had mentioned Soul Brian, a few of those other guys. I'd one of the first tweets I saw that had, like changed my whole like way I looked at my health was Grimhood tweeted like just this long list of herbs like in his tea he took or something, and I was fascinated by it, started looking it up. But then I'd also remembered a tweet of his that said that goat milk is genetically the most similar to human breast milk. So we actually list that on our website as well, and we have
Yeah,
studies
I
backing
was
that.
about to ask on that specifically too.
Yeah, shout out to Grimhood for all that information that he shares. When Armin initially brought this idea up to me, I had a immediate flashback to the same tweets that he's referring to about goat milk and goat dairy and goat whey, and that's the seal of approval that I need. So that was definitely a green flag when looking into goat milk and goat dairy and kind of the benefits of it. But yeah, like Armin was saying too about being similar to human milk. I knew this before because like one of our really close friends actually, he couldn't he couldn't digest breast milk or it wasn't available to him, and his mom gave him goat milk as a substitute. To even I think formula was also didn't agree with him as a baby, so he ended up just drinking goat milk, which is pretty badass, and he ended up doing fine on it, and he's a beast now. So I think there's definitely something to it. And then kind of since we've started too, there's been a lot of people who reach out and kind of share some stories about how they feed their kids goat milk or they were feeding
Yeah,
as children. So that's kind of a cool little like anecdote. And there's a bunch of wives' tales too. There's a funny photo that like circulates every now and then of like some old ass black and white photo in like 1908 and some babies drinking straight from the tea on a goat, which is pretty funny.
that is wild. I mean, that could indicate both things. I mean, I just thought about this. Either, sure, it's extremely similar to breast milk, or we just have some type of like we probably evolved to better digest goat than milk, a goat than goat than milk, goat than cows, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that's true to be said. You know, like you had mentioned at the start of this, how like not that many people might even know we exist, but that's also partially due to the fact that like goat milk consumption in the US is lower than anywhere else in the world. Like most of the world drinks goat milk, like globally. And it's funny, you know, like I remember when I told my mom,
Whoa.
like, yeah, I was like, goat milk is great, like it's good for you and stuff. My mom, you know, grew up on a farm in Bosnia, very agricultural country, etc. And she's like, yeah, no shit. Like it's like, you know, like she knew, like my family knew this was a thing, but you know, in the US it is somewhat new. I think we also have a benefit of uh time, in the sense that, you know, COVID was a turning point for like people health wise, regardless of, you know, whatever that was. People were like, holy shit, I got to get healthier. Like, there's no doubt about that. And we had more time to like consume media in positive ways. A lot of this new media was health stuff. I mean, look at all the health guys that blew up in that time. And so I think with that, an emergence of more interest in health for yourself and autonomy in that regard, you know, we are benefiting from that as well, because we're offering an alternative to, you know, cow dairy and plant-based, because plant-based is blown up. There's brands that are huge, but a lot of people try that and it really doesn't sit well with them, nor does it offer the same protein or amino acid content of a, you know, a cow dairy or a
And
dairy
taste, it
carcass.
tastes like shit.
They do. They all, like, I've tried them all too. I have a friend who, you know, gets them sent in, makes videos, etc. And I've tried them. They just, and these are big brands, you know, like they're selling millions, and I think they taste like shit. I really do. So
I'll tell you too why there's so many brands popping up that are plant-based is because it's also extremely profitable. I've inquired with the guy that we work with and some other suppliers, and a lot of the bases for these products, it's like brown rice powder, like pea protein powder, some of these other powders, and they're very cheap to purchase. So the margins on those products have to be absolutely massive.
So you think that's why they're so popular?
Yeah, I think people are taking advantage of the whole plant-based kind of movement, and you know, it's kind of a no-brainer if you can make a product, you know, sell it at a premium and have like absolutely massive margins. But I don't know, I would never personally. I just for the reasons Armin stated, I don't think it's really a high-quality product. The bioavailability is
Yeah.
low. Not for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's like one of the reasons why I started my supplement brand. It's because most companies just will sell any snake oil to take advantage over your guilt and emotions. That's where the money is. That's why the industry's so big, because it's full of bullshit.
Yeah, I saw a tweet today that I agreed with, and it was like it was somebody who sells supplements. I think he sells like creatine gummies or some shit, and he was saying like
Some
you
bow tied guy, no?
there's so many of these products. I don't think it was him, but he was saying how like the barrier to entry into supplements is almost like too low, which is like hypocritical because you're now entering the industry. Armin and I are in it, and then same with him. But yeah, because the barrier to entry is so low, it kind of anybody can kind of start a product and you can kind of throw anything on the nutrition label if it's not certified. So yeah, it's definitely a problem. I think one thing I've been seeing a lot, which I meant to actually bring up to you when we chatted a few days ago, one thing that pisses me off is when these companies on the nutrition label will put like the total amount of magnesium, but not specify the elemental value. Do you know what I'm saying? So for
Yeah, it's
example,
huge.
they'll say like 400 milligrams of magnesium, but it's actually 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, for example.
Yeah,
And then you do the math on it, and it's really, you know, it's
it's like 100 milligrams, huh? No, 50.
Yeah, it's like 50 to 75, I think. So that's something that I see a lot, which is, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a massive difference in what you think you're getting.
100%. 100%. So what is nutrition built by living?
Yeah, I can speak to this a little bit. Also, while we're on this topic, I want to just also add in like PRAVI and where that came from and what that means. So
Please.
that's actually well, so in ex-Yugoslavia, Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, like we speak very similar language, but PRAVI in across a lot or a few of those countries and languages means real. So it's a word I grew up with, but it's just real nutrition. And built by living is essentially everything like we do or we create, like we've lived it first. Like again, you go back to the low barrier of entry of products, which is like awful that that's like low in a health space, right? Like you would think it's harder because you're making products for people's health. But part of it is, like this original product, right? It came from me living the fact that I used goat milk to replace like all forms of dairy. I used goat cheese for the cheese part. I stopped using protein powders that weren't goat based, and we made our own. But so essentially everything we create, like we live it too. It's not just a gimmick where we're like, hey, this is the best stuff on earth, try it, but we don't even use it. You know what I mean? So
I love that, bro. Yeah, I appreciate you touching on that. So how has the process of creating Pravi been? Like talking with the actual farms, providers, manufacturers, packaging, fulfillment centers, customers. How has all of this experience been?
It's been tough, man. I think you're kind of dealing with some of the same things that we dealt with early on. But when you're trying to create a product, a supplement, a CPG, a lot of the times these big manufacturers have high minimal order quantities, which makes it hard for a small business that doesn't have like unlimited sources of capital because your initial investment is going to be higher. So that was, a challenge. And then just, I mean, when it's just yourself or two people, you kind of have to figure out a bunch of different things like packaging, the formula, logistics. I mean, to be fair, like in 2024, now it's like pretty easy to figure some of these things out on your own, but you're still kind of starting from zero. So we didn't really have too many people to lean on specific to supplements. So we definitely made some big mistakes early on. Like the manufacturer we worked with kind of did some shady things. And when we got our initial shipment, like a bunch of our product was damaged. So just kind of dealing with some of those growing pains, I guess. But then you learn from the mistakes, kind of try not to make them again. So it all kind of works out in the long run, so long as you can like continue and stay alive.
yeah, and part of that too, with the challenge of, I touched on it briefly, but like the sourcing, we had taken months and months to source this, and a lot of it was just based on you kind of can't take no for an answer in a sense of like even when you're researching things. So it's like if you're not getting the results you want just from what you're seeing on the internet, like then you have to adjust how you're searching it. Maybe change the keywords. Yeah, if I'm getting super technical. And like we had found our supplier because I stumbled across like a 110-page like written up legal document of import and export of cheese in the United States for a particular like part or like I don't know, some region. I don't even know how honestly I stumbled on this. And then I go to the back page and it lists like 110 dairy producers in the country. And I like I went on each website and then saw first of all if they even made goat products or if they were just cow products, and then reached out to each of them via like cold email or cold call. And me and Joe kind of bounced around, had conversations, and then you find someone you can agree with. Like our suppliers, phenomenal. Like they work with us so well, and that's been like a luxury in a sense, because we rely on them tremendously. And the fact that they're just so willing and so able to work with us has been like super nice, helpful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What has been the like the biggest takeaway of this journey?
Yeah, we talk about this sometimes. Recently, actually, we were talking about this, packing some orders, but I think for me, like just believing that you can start something and it'll work and it doesn't have to be perfect. I think between Armin and I'm more the pessimist and he's more of the optimist. So I kind of, for me, it's difficult because you want everything to be perfect, and you see these other products and these other brands that do have like literally unlimited resources that you're competing against, and you want things to look like that, like your website to look like theirs, your product to be like theirs. And when you're just starting out, it's just not feasible. So just kind of overcoming that and just kind of getting the ball rolling, I think is the biggest takeaway. And that you don't have to have a perfect product or this some sort of like arbitrage in a particular industry. You just kind of have to start. And I think you see a lot of people give that advice on Twitter as well.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. Like my next question was going to be like, what would be the biggest piece of advice you would give to someone who has a desire to create something and start like a business or something like this?
I'll say, I think what you're doing is really smart, and what a lot of people are doing, building like a personal brand before they launch a product. That's not something that we did, but I think that's super valuable. And like you've been growing your Twitter like crazy. Now you kind of have this following, and you're dropping some hints in and like here and there about the product that you're going to be launching, and kind of throwing some jabs in there. So I would honestly like do that. I think that's smart. Kind of tease it, and but building a personal brand. It's why I initially hit you up, because I've kind of seen what you've done the past couple of years, and I would like to start being more vocal on Twitter and like Instagram and posting more content. So I guess the long-winded answer for me is kind of putting yourself out there initially, and building your own personal brand will make it a lot easier to then launch some sort of product and kind of monetize your audience.
Yeah, and my advice, honestly, it's like kind of a two-part. It goes with what Joe had started with, like having this belief that there is no actual like blueprint you have to follow. So you got to make it yourself. But it goes in with with advice in the sense that authenticity, like actually being authentic to your core, and not trying to just like fit into a bunch of trends or molds, etc. Which you'll have to also accept with that some people won't resonate with that, but it's totally okay. Because if you don't accept that side, you're not going to accept all the people that do support you and all the growth you can achieve. And then also, I think having a pulse like on everything. Now, I'm not saying like you waste your time, like, you know, watch like drama or stuff like this. Like, I have a good pulse on a lot of different industries, from like streamers to health to these creators. And I've learned for years of how they've built communities in these separate industries. And that's why they're successful. And although we hadn't started with our own personal brand per se, we know that we're building a community. Like our product is exceptional, but I think we're thriving because people like the community. They like our transparency. I mean, we it's not a secret, but we handwrite notes for every single order. We've had days where we had over 100 orders. We still sat there, wrote every single note, no matter what. And hopefully that can continue as long as it's like actually, feasible, possible. But it's because we are trying to invest in our customers as people, not just like, oh, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. And it returns well for us because we have customers coming back every month. And we're chatting with these people. I get asked, we don't sell creatine yet. If someone asks me about creatine, I'll like plug them a creatine brand I trust. It's not I'm not here to be like, like it's abundance. There's a lot to this, and I think just having a pulse on the market as well as being authentic will get you really far.
Yeah. To chime in on what Armin was saying about the notes, I think that's been really helpful for us just to kind of create this human interaction that a lot of people don't get when they're buying things online. And you have to do those types of things as a small business because it helps set you apart from, I don't know what a percentage is, but I would say probably like 90% of companies are just doing like 3PL or like Amazon Prime fulfillment. And, it's all Bezos bots and all that shit. And we're actually like filling the notes, seeing the name. Oh, this is your third order. Maybe reference that on the card. Oh, this is your fourth order. Here's free shipping, promo code, your first name. Just doing like really small things that kind of are very personalized and that other companies that are much bigger than you can't do just simply due to scale. So kind of doing things, just going the extra mile as a small business, I think helps a lot, for sure.
I love that. It gives the personal touch is something that I always appreciate on any brand. It makes the experience much better. And I want to come back for more. So what would be next for PRAVI?
Well, speaking with our guy earlier, and in 2025, we're trying to launch a few more products. We want to do creatine, pretty straightforward, but it's definitely becoming more popular in terms of like demographically. It seems like it's expanding to a wider audience, so that's kind of a no-brainer. Very
Yeah.
brand similar protein, creatine, and then an electrolyte, which I know is something you're working on too. That's something we've been thinking about for a long time, and it looks like it's finally going to start kind of getting into motion here, like Q1 2025. So that's something that we're really excited about.
I
Yeah,
love
and
it. So
also, I'm sorry, but I was just gonna add also, like, we're from Vermont, and I want to give like a nice thing about Vermont is that it's so like small business and local business focused and supported. Like we have so many farmers markets. We have local grocers that stock with only local products, etc. And people make really high quality stuff here. We have a lot of farmland. We have the best maple syrup in the world, probably. So like we have high quality products, and I think that's something me and Joe have discussed too. Like, we're from Vermont, but we have like maybe 0.01 of our sales is in Vermont, and that's in due part to like we wanted to be in the DTC space and build like this brand on a national level. But I think you can have benefits in doing like the small things locally or something if you have this type of support, and just you know part of our growth too is like getting to the people around us first, the community that's closest. That would be pretty cool to do.
I love it. I don't know why I thought Vermont was in Canada. Is it in Canada? No, in the US.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking close. We're like an hour and a half border.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's cold up there.
dude. Yeah, it's like 25 right now. So
Wow. In Mexico, I think we have no real winter. It gets cold in the mornings, but we have like 6 UV days, 7 UV days.
no, we get it all. We have like 4 5 skiing resorts here, like in Vermont.
Okay.
So
So there was something you mentioned that has been a kind of like it's been a big topic on the podcast lately, which was like COVID uh, was the turn of people health wise. It brought a lot of awareness. I think to some it could have been like they took their health for granted for so long and then disappeared, or for some they just noticed how fucky everything is and not completely honest. There's lies, there's something going on that we're not in control of. So what's your take on that? What have you felt with that?
yeah, I mean, I could go. For me, it was like there was like the general overview of things, which is that, you know, it's one of these things like you just went through life, and until it sucks to say it a lot of times, until something happens to you health wise, you don't actually give a fuck. And like, again, that's horrible to say, like on a spiritual level, like taking life for granted. Um, but I know when I was going through this and I just felt at like 23, 24, I had nowhere to run. And you go to the main core, you know, like healthcare, etc. And I'm sure there are great individuals in that space, and their hands are tied. Um, but I think once you have a personal, it makes you look at everything a little differently. You're like, okay, hold on, let's like everything take a moment here, you know, so I can like calibrate what's going on. And I think a lot of it for me was personal based, as well as like then this growing theme of, okay, I think I'm just going to pay more attention to what's being said and what they're instructing us, etc., than just like going through life lackadaisical.
Yeah, I think for me, I've been very skeptical of like the mainstream media and like the pharmaceutical industry for a while now. Like I was watching Alex Jones videos like way too early, so I was kind of like privy to some of
Bro,
this
I
shit.
love that so much.
Yeah, and so I already had that like skepticism in me. But even I was surprised to see like how things have unfolded, like how horrible and like evil some of this stuff was. And
Yeah.
so I just think it was a wake up call in that sense. Even as somebody who is skeptical of these things, I didn't realize it was that bad. So it's just a total wake up call that nobody really has your best interest in mind, and to just totally question everything at this point. And I think most people feel similarly, I would hope. And if
Yeah.
you don't feel that way, or there's no sort of like revelation, then I don't know what to say.
100%. Yeah. I think COVID was a wake up call to the ones that even aren't completely awake. You know, the whole experience of the lockdown. For me, for sure, it was one. I wanted to get the jab so fucking bad. Um, my parents did not let me at all, and I cannot believe like what a miracle that was.
Right.
Yeah, and like hindsight is 2020, but people forget like in the heat of it how much pressure was really put on people. Like
Bro, 100%.
it's easy
More
to look
like
back now,
it
but
wasn't
it was
not
bad.
yeah, it wasn't just like governmental pressure, it was societal pressure.
Yeah.
Most of it was that. How's coconut water in Vermont, by the way?
So this is from a small company, Kirkland Signature.
Yeah.
But no, I mean obviously there's no coconut water grown in Vermont, but
Mm-hmm.
we got it. We got access to some good stuff. I know you're a fan. I am
Bro,
too. It's good stuff.
I'm a huge fan.
We
They grow here.
oh really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that. We're gonna put some coconut water powder in our electrolyte, but the thing that's kind of difficult with it is the concentration of potassium is pretty low, as you might
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So like you know, you can only put so much of the powder in, but we're gonna have a little bit in there. I think that'll be cool.
You could probably do like the coconut water powder plus some more potassium.
Correct. That's the plan.
Right.
Something similar to the one that's in coconut water. Probably like fuck, I don't know. I think the easiest one would be like chloride.
Yeah, chloride or citrate is
Right.
what I've been looking at. Probably chloride, just because it's a little slightly
Simple.
more elemental value.
Right.
Simple. Yeah.
Right. Um, what does the work you guys both do taught you about the world so far?
I'll also start on this one. Like, I think just the more you like, I want to word this correctly, but you know, like when we had started, we had again, we had no like background in meta or like this ad platform, that ad platform. We also had no personal brand. The brand, like PRAVI, the brand was like our friends we knew followed it, and that was it. And I guess just knowing that like a lot of information's out there, and you can just take all the time in the world you have to just read and read and read and learn, but most importantly, like implementation. And that's kind of taught us is like there are people that wanted our product, right, on like a obvious level, but like how you can enter a very saturated space like supplements, which we've talked about, and still have room to play. Like obviously branching into other products and SKUs that I think we can do a good job at is part of our progress to grow. But knowing we actually established somewhat of a little like square foot in this massive supplement industry is like only done through us giving it a go. And that's kind of shifted my whole mindset on like everything in life, that just like you got to just roll with the punches and try this shit out.
I would say for me, you just kind of start studying other brands and like trying to reverse engineer some different things, and you find that the bar is actually pretty low. Like if you study a product or something for like a few hours, then you look at like electrolytes, for example. Some of these products, like with magnesium oxide or these products marketed as electrolytes, but then there's like, 20 milligrams of sodium and like,
There's fucking seed oils now
yeah,
in
there's
electrolytes. It's
yeah,
crazy.
there's not even electrolytes in these products. So that's another kind of thing that a discovery I had is like a lot of these companies and brands, they're not like super special, so you can kind of, if you do your own research and, have like a moderate IQ, you can put together a good product and kind of figure the rest out. But kind of back to what I was saying before too, is you don't have to be perfect. You kind of just gotta have to start and figure some things out. But on that subject, and this is something that uh Coltebra has said before, is like, and his business partner, staying super lean in the beginning stages, just so you can like survive some of these trials and tribulations, and you don't have like a ton of overhead or a big business loan you have to pay off. So
What does that mean?
what I mean by that is keeping your expenses as low as possible,
Okay.
and just kind of being able to survive without having to be super profitable.
Kind
For
of like
example,
tests,
yeah, you could
right?
say that. Like, don't hop in and get an expensive warehouse, or like,
Right.
just kind of get ahead of yourselves a little bit. Like we were shipping and storing in my basement for a couple of years, and like, small things like that. All of our money for the most part is reinvested back into the business. So
Beautiful. Yeah, I love
yeah.
that. For
Yeah,
my
and
last,
take the time. Sorry, take the time to like try and learn these things. Like
right.
I have no expertise like anywhere, right? If you looked me up on meta ads, but we've run successful ad campaigns. We've
Beautiful.
sold products, we brought awareness. Like, are there thousands of people that do this better? Absolutely. But like in order to stay lean, you have to try these things. You have to test, as you just put it, and instead of just going to like, okay, I'm gonna just put all our money towards this, you have to be willing to like kind of try everything out yourself first, especially when you're staying lean and not trying to run up just like $1 million in credit card debt. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of got off topic there a little bit, but that made me think of another tweet by the head of based supplements, that guy Eric.
Eric.
I don't know him personally, but he drops a lot of good knowledge on Twitter. And I think one thing he had said is, before you start like hiring all these different agencies, you have to have some sort of like baseline understanding of how everything works yourself. So that's some advice that we've taken for sure.
I love that. For my last question for both of y'all, what brings y'all most joy in life so far?
Hmm. It's a deep one.
I want to say, just like if I'm going off top, like the first reaction I get is actually just like spending it with people I care about. And like on a, not to sound like cliche or corny or something, but just like on a reciprocal level where like the people I'm around, I don't even have to doubt even like 1% of any of their intentions with me. And I think that's like pretty rare, and it can come in forms, different forms. It could be a girlfriend, it can be family, it can be just your boys. And so I like genuinely cherish like just having that feeling that I don't have to like think about anyone's intentions. And yeah, I'd say if I was going off just off top.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like spending time with close friends and family, doing fun stuff, ski trips, golf trips, being active, or just having like a nice home cooked meal, like a little dinner party. Things like that are bring me a ton of joy.
Also,
Smoking like hitting like a 5 iron from like 200 yards, sticking one close. That's like initially what came to mind is golf for me.
and I think too, part of it is like I'm, you're not going to be joyful or in moods of happiness all day. Like, nor should you want to be. You should be seeking out stress and things that are slightly more negative than that. But having something to build, like I know Joe feels the same because of some convos we've had, but like having Pravi and building it and like knowing it's like we're putting it in, like all this stuff in. Like I said, we do pretty much everything in house. I think can go a long way for like a steady state of if not joy, at least like a good temperament. When I was in college, etc., and these health issues shortly after, like I was just like depressed, fucking loser, like at home, and I didn't see, I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't see much in anything. And I think like revisiting that and seeing where I'm at now with just like having faith that stuff is going to work out is like come a long way for just like a baseline level of joy or being alive.
One thing I just thought of too, in terms of joy, which is probably a better answer, is like starting new hobbies and getting better at something. Like I play a little guitar. I mentioned I play golf a little bit, but like doing things
Where the
like
fuck
that.
do you play golf?
Yeah, I know. This is the weather's like there's no
Right.
snow, but it's like raining and windy. The golf up in Vermont is actually pretty nice, dude. But you can only golf like 5 months out of the year max. But like, dude, the fall golf in Vermont with like the foliage is like unreal. It's actually like probably an underrated golf destination, but the season is short. But yeah, back to what I was saying, just like, starting a new hobby, doing something hard, and then seeing something pay off, like that delayed gratification, that's something that brings the most joy for me, whether it be in like business or just like learning like a new song on the guitar and like you finally like get it down. That shit's awesome.
I love that. I appreciate both of y'all today. That was really nice. Thank you guys.
No, thank you, bro. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you too, like for the first time, like myself,
Yeah.
but appreciate it.
Same thing, bro. Keep